as you know, as the Minister of Transport, when you increase the carbon tax, you increase the cost of transportation and trucking. So are you, given what has happened in your own community?
Mr. Chair, point of order.
That was a real slap in the face.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
We're here because of the comments of your Montreal colleague and cabinet colleague, Stephen Guilbeault, who said in prepared remarks at a transit symposium in Montreal, he said, our government has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure. There will be no more envelopes from the federal government to enlarge the road network. Were you at the cabinet meeting where that decision was made?
I think that he had the chance to clarify himself, and I think he's coming right after me, so Mr. Troll, you will have the chance to ask exactly for what he meant by that. What I understood after his clarification, that it was specifically talking about one project which concerns Madame Vien.
He didn't actually speak just to one project. He said we don't have funds for large projects like La Troisième Ligne. So he said we don't have funds for large projects going forward. Well, I want to. So you've said there wasn't a cabinet decision that when he said
I can't talk about what
when he said our government made the decision, he was lying, or how did that?
Mr. Stroll, you've been here for a while. You know that I cannot talk about what's discussed at cabinet.
Okay,
what I can tell you and demonstrate to you is that we have been financing many projects, including at transport, through the NTCF fund.
So he said that the analysis we have done, I assume that again means the government, the analysis we have done is that the network is perfectly adequate to respond to the needs we have. As a Montreal MP, do you believe that the road network in Montreal is perfectly adequate?
I've been saying for a while that there's a lot to do in terms of road, not only in Montreal, but everywhere, in the Quebec region where Madame Vien comes from, and in other provinces across the country. That's why we have the project and we're investing in roads.
You disagree with the analysis that your government did, that the minister announced at that? We will ask him the questions.
I'm not sure which analysis you're talking about.
Well, he said the analysis was done by your government, so that's what I'm referring to. If you have it, we would love to see it. But that's what he said at the. I'm not creating words. He didn't get jumped by a journalist on the corner of the street. He made these remarks, prepared remarks, which I assume were approved by the Prime Minister's office.
You're assuming.
But another question I had about Montreal. We saw in Montreal where there was actually a police incident at a local food bank because there was so much need for the food bank that there was a skirmish that the police had to be called in to restore order because people can't afford to put food on their table. We know that with the increase in the carbon tax that your government is bringing in, 23% increase in carbon tax will drive up the price of food because, as you know, as the Minister of Transport, when you increase the carbon tax, you increase the cost of transportation and trucking. So are you, given what has happened in your own community?
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Excuse me, Mr. Straw, point of order. Ms. Koutrakis.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt my honourable colleagues. I just want to speak to relevance. I'd like to know on the comments where this conversation is going on relevance.
Mr. Chair, with what happened in the last committee when we were here to talk about roads and we were talking about buildings at UBC, I'm sorry that we're to be interrupted now by a Liberal Member of Parliament when I'm questioning the Minister. We didn't interrupt when there was irrelevant comments and questions in the last panel, and we don't expect to be interrupted by Liberals now when we're asking about something that is important to Canadians.
Thank you, Mr. Straw. I've stopped your time, so you will not lose time for that point of order. I'll just ask all colleagues, regardless of political stripe, to try and keep on topic with what we're supposed to be discussing here today, and I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Straw.
So when you increase the carbon tax by 23% on April 1st, you're going to increase the cost of food, which will increase the need for food banks. We've seen 2 million Canadians a month now needing access to a food bank. Why are you increasing the cost of the carbon tax when it's having such a detrimental impact even in your own community?
What is the cost of doing nothing as you're suggesting, Mr. Straw? What's the impact of floods, of huge fires? What's the impact on the future of our own children and grandchildren of just abandoning the fight against climate change, Mr. Speaker. And in terms of cost of life, I agree with you. It's expensive, and we have to do more, and we're doing more. And that's why we have programs, for example, the TCF, that's investing in trade corridors, which are fundamental for the circulation of goods. And I can talk about many of the approaches. If you have me the question, I have many approaches I can share with you.
Some of the projects that Minister Fraser talked about, he admitted that for many Canadians, for rural Canadians, for those that don't have access, as you and your colleague, Mr. Guilbeault, have to the subway or to bike lanes or to being able to walk to work, that the road network is critical. And that rural communities need roads to have that connectivity. And on those roads, in many communities, electric vehicles, for instance, are not an option. The distances are too great. The climate doesn't allow for it. So why, again, are you raising the cost of the fuel that is necessary for people to drive on those roads, to use the cars that they need to live their lives? Why are you making life more expensive for Canadians by increasing the carbon tax and by having these, your colleague, quite frankly, say that they're going to be on their own going forward when it comes to investments from the federal government?
Well, I don't think he said that. And again, Mr. Charles, he was very specifically referring to one project, which is we call it the Troisième Lien, the region of Quebec, and we don't even know exactly where the actual government is. Yes, no, we'll see in the future. But we said that we would be there if there's a public transportation. But we also recognize that, Canada is very different. You have opportunities of public transportation in cities like mine or Toronto, other places, and in rural regions, you don't have that same opportunity, and people have to use their cars, and that's totally normal. And we totally understand that reality, Mr. Strahl.
Thank you very much, Mr. Strahl.
He said that there would be no new investments from the government in road work. Is that true? Did he inform you that he would be making that statement? Yes or no? Ms. Vien, I realize you have lots of experience. I followed your career in Quebec. Mr. Guilbeault clarified his comments. That's not what I asked. I said, did he consult you before making the statement? Look, he didn't. He can't consult me on something that he clarified. What you're saying is, did he consult Mr. Rodriguez? Your colleague made a statement on video conference saying that the government would no longer invest in the road network, in new road infrastructure. That was a real slap in the face for Quebec City that had its project for a third link. He made this statement before public transit promoters. He said that he was referring to the third link in Quebec City with regard to investing in the road infrastructure, that there would be no new road infrastructure. Did he consult you or not? No. Look, that's serious. He made a statement saying that the government has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure that would have a major impact for Canada, especially for rural regions. What I understand is you weren't aware. What I'm telling you is that he clarified his comments. He was speaking about the third link. Do you agree with what he said? Do you endorse it? Come on. You're not answering the question. That's your viewpoint. I think I'm responding to your question. Let's forget about assumptions and look at the facts. Will we be continuing to invest in roads? Yes, absolutely. I've got a long list of our investments here. You talked about Gatineau just now. You said you want to spend $70 million. Will there be new bridges built? Are you? If you're talking about the tramway from Quebec to Ottawa, the tramway could very well go over Pont du Portage, a bridge that's already there. But I said if there is a future infrastructure project, we'll be there to support it. During the 2015 Liberal campaign, it was said that on June 30th, 2016, the matter of the Quebec Bridge would be solved. And then you said later that the Quebec Bridge project was about to be solved in 2023. Now, it's March 2024. We thought you were going to come to Quebec City to announce support for the Quebec Bridge. And once again, you said in your announcement it was about to be settled. I think the only thing that the government has contributed to, has commented on, is the amount of rust on the bridge. It's been 2,821 days have gone by since you've promised to settle this question. Look, we've settled a lot of things. There is one final element to be resolved.
Peut-être que vous ne savez pas si vous posez la
Merci,
question.
Monsieur le ministre.
Thank you, Minister.